So today I'm going to show you how to replace a smooth runner on your umbrella. And we're going to start by taking out the crank assembly. Okay, so now we've got our crank assembly out, and as you can see, I've laid the umbrella down on a work table, which makes it a lot easier to work with. And I'm going to just take this rope and get it fed back in here. We got to get that rope out of our way, because what we're going to do is take this smooth runner and slide it off the bottom of the umbrella. So there's a couple things we have to get out of our way to do this job. One is the crank and that rope. Next, we're going to have to remove the light switch and this electrical socket for the transformer. So this electrical socket requires a very tiny Phillips head bit. I'm just using this. You could use a hand screwdriver, but you're going to need a small Phillips head bit. Those two screws come out and then just pops right out. Now, this light switch here, we're going to have to remove as well. And you can do that with either a flathead screwdriver or something flat like a butter knife works real well. So I'm going to use this little flathead screwdriver to pop this light switch out. And now there's 3 wires on the back of here that we're going to have to take off. One of those, the red one, the one in the middle, goes to our light socket here. Once those are off, you can now pull this out. So one of these red wires goes through here to the middle of the switch. The other one coming off this light socket goes to the brown wire, which is the main power coming down from the umbrella. Those two things have been removed. Just push your wires back in there and get them out of your way. So our next step is to get this stop pin out. So you can see this is what a stop pin looks like. It's actually a tubular nut with caps on either end that unscrew. So what we're going to do is just try to unscrew one of the caps so we can remove it. The way to do that is with 2 pairs of vice grips. We're going to clamp one here, and you want these to clamp pretty tight. I've got these adjusted so they're tight. Clamp another one on the other side. And then what you're going to do is just turn counterclockwise to get one end of that cap to come off. And that worked out pretty good. Came right off. Now as a tip, sometimes these can be stubborn, especially if the umbrella is a little older and it's hard to get this cap off. Use some type of a heat source. I always have a propane torch or something like this to just kind of put a little heat to either side of this, and it loosens it right up. If you don't have something like this, you can use any household lighter to put a little heat on both sides of that tubular nut. And usually with that heat, you'll be able to take it off very easily with those clamps. And you may not need that, but just a tip in case you're having a hard time getting this off. The tip is actually to remove the smooth runner from the upper support arm. And I'm going to use a 12mm wrench to hold the nut on the back of here. Use this screwdriver. This always comes off very easily. That's just held on by one bolt and nut. All right, we are now ready to just slide this right off the bottom of the umbrella. Now as you do, I want to put your hand down here, and you're going to catch the 2 pins and rollers inside here. I want to make sure to hold on to these pins and rollers. These never break, but occasionally our customers might lose one taking them off. This does not come with a smooth runner when you order it, so if for some reason you've lost a pin or roller, you're going to have to let us know so we can send you a new one, but you normally would just reuse these. So now you can see we've got the old smooth runner and handle off. You can see where it's cracked. So that happens, folks, when you have your umbrella open, maybe unattended, and a big gust of wind twists this umbrella. There's 2 pieces that can break when that happens. One is this smooth runner that goes up and down, and the other one that can break is that top holder. So you really want to exercise caution when you have your umbrella open. You never want to leave it open and unattended. And if one of these 2 parts is broken, I highly recommend you looking on the accessories page at the wind stabilizer. It might help you prevent this from happening again in the future. But now that we've got our smooth runner off, the last step here is to remove the trigger handle, which is very easy. It's just held on by these 2 screws. It's a Phillips head on either side. So now I'm going to use 2 Phillips head screwdrivers, one on each side. And again, these are little tubular nuts. Just going to counterclockwise twist these. Same with this other one. Okay, so we've got those off. Now we're just going to push these through. We'll be able to pull them out this side, and this trigger handle will just come off. So it's just held on by those two tubular nuts. Okay. So one last thing, folks, is inside this broken smooth runner is a plastic washer. We call it a washer. It's an insert. You'll want to save this. This is really critical to go back into your new smooth runner. So now we're going to take our plastic washer and stick it back into the new smooth runner. Just going to pop it in there, and then I'm going to pop these ends to make sure they snap back into the outside of it. Now we're going to put our trigger handle back on here. One longer tubular nut and one shorter one. Now we've got our handle back on. So now we're going to take our smooth runner, place our two pins and rollers back into place. So now we've got our two rollers and pins back in place. I'm just going to put a finger on each one of those as I slide this back on here. Yeah, they're in place. Squeeze this. Now our new smooth runner is back on the umbrella. We're going to reattach our arm, put back the rest of our pieces. So now we're just going to hold the back side of this nut with our wrench. Tighten that back up. So next we're going to put this stop pin back in. I'll go from the bottom so you could see here. Put our cap screw on the end. And we're going to take our two clamps. And this time, just going to tighten that up a little bit. That should be good. Okay, now that we've got our stop pin back in, I'm going to set this back in the umbrella frame to put the crank back in and reattach the electrical. So the next step is to put our socket and our light switch back in. You're going to want to either take a coat hanger with a little bend or a tool, something like this, to reach up here, and you're going to have to fish these wires back through. Okay, so the yellow and blue one go to either side of the light switch. So our yellow and blue wires come out of the square hole here for the light switch. The brown wire is our main power wire. It goes to the round wire on the plug. I'm going to push these back together nice and tight, and we can slip that in there. The other wire coming off of the socket here feeds through, and it comes back through this hole right here. Okay, so there's for our socket. If you remember, it's held on by these two tiny little Phillips head screws. Now for our light switch. The red wire, which attaches here to this socket, goes in the middle. The blue and the yellow could be reversed. It just will make a difference in whether up is the bright light or down is the bright light versus the ambiance lights. If you want to switch that, you can always pull the plug out, flip it over, and stick it back in. There, our light switch is back in.